hot water the boil, put into an oven, put into the microwave, and somebody says that I think the recipe is Indian curry. Yeah, there are all kinds of things, right? There are all kinds of recipes, and people start selling all this information. I think we are sometimes can confuse. We don't know what's the real thing. How we should prevent ourselves, and how things will be transmitted. I'll take a 5-minute break. I invite a doctor to come and share with us. I think it's good at this time. While we're hearing story here and there, maybe we think we know, wear the mask. Not enough. Maybe we should ask the doctor, can or not? Whether all this can prevent or not. Can I invite Dr. Khoo, maybe just give us 5 minutes or 7 minutes to share how we consider and how to be lower possibility of being infected.
Thank you, Pastor. Good morning. First of all, let me declare I'm no expert in this field. But I just want to share how we doctors look at this disease. Are we doctors afraid? Most of us are not afraid. I'll be honest. Yeah. First of all, we have to know the difference between fear and fact. I think it's important to know the fact. So let me begin by telling you the difference between viruses and bacteria. Viruses and bacteria are called germs in general terms. Bacteria come, say, one bacteria drop, and then it will grow. They can multiply. But viruses cannot multiply without human, without a host. So it needs cells to multiply. So meaning that if somebody coughs, that whatever amount of viruses, say, drop to inanimate object like a table, is it going to grow in numbers? It will not. It cannot grow because it doesn't work that way. Viruses only grow in cells. It needs a host. So sadly to say, unfortunately, for this epidemic to finish, a lot of people will still die. The hosts have to die. The weakest will die. Weakest means the old, the very young, those with pre-existing disease, those with heart disease, diabetes. Unfortunately, these are the ones that have the most viruses in the body. So unfortunately, because of that, these hosts obviously need to either heal or die. Those who heal, they fall away, the viruses shouldn't be killed anymore. Those that die, obviously the body will be cremated, and that will be the end of this. So you always, in this epidemic, you see a sudden rise in cases, then a sudden rise in death, and then the cases drop, and the death goes on. As you see in SARS as well. This is not the first, nor will it be the last epidemic. And that's because we humans are careless. We like to eat wild animals, we like to eat raw food, and this is where our body is not able to resist the viruses that normally inhibit animals' bodies. That's how this disease come about, because of us, our doing. So how do we then go on to prevent? Of course, change the lifestyle. But the fact that we have an epidemic right now, what we need to do, obviously, how to prevent the spread. Not to how to prevent ourselves from getting it. It's about how do we prevent the spread. So wearing mask by everybody is not a solution. The mask should be worn by those who have symptoms. Because what happens is when everybody wears masks, the demand is more than supply. Then it pushes up the cost. So are we saying those who are poor do not deserve to protect themselves? That's why you do not get advice from doctors or WHO to say everybody wear masks. Because that will not solve the problem. The problem is how do you prevent people from spreading these viruses into the environment? Meaning if you're not well, you should absent yourself from certain public functions. Yeah? Victim number 18. Victim number 18 came back from Macau. He came back the next day, he had dinner with his friends. That is irresponsible behavior. You came from an epicenter. You came from a place where there is this infection going on. You come back, you join your friends. You expose all these people unnecessarily to risk. The more responsible thing for him to do is to quarantine himself for 14 days maybe. Make sure he's okay, and perhaps even wear a mask when he go out. So this is one lesson more. Lesson number 2 is, even when you wear a mask, remembering that if you wear a mask, the way we doctors wear masks is, we wear one, we don't touch our face anymore, we take the throw. That means you'll be wearing maybe 20 masks a day. So you wear one mask, you take off, you eat, then you put it back. While eating, you hold the table, hold the chair, say somebody cough on it. you're going to put the viruses on a mask and which nearer to your face, isn't it? So the logic of it is, most important point is prevent or advise those with disease to remove themselves from society for a moment, wear the mask to protect, and this is from there. So what can we do if we do not know who this patient, who is disease? Therefore, the concept of hand washing is important. Hand washing, of course, we touch our face about 50 times a day. But how can we wash our hands all the time? So people carry all this disinfectant, sanitizer. This is one way. But I think the best way to really prevent this disease is to take care of your health. That means you increase your resistance to disease. Sleep right, eat right, and perhaps maybe more outdoor exposure rather than indoor in air conditioning. That will be a more prudent way to protect. In reality, every day in Malaysia, 37 people die from heart disease. Every day, 37 people die from heart disease, but we are not worried about it because we think it will not be passed to us. Right? This is normal. We are worried because we think people can pass to us. But let's be realistic and look at what is more important. More people die from influenza. More people die from dengue every year in Malaysia. But we go around keeping water in the house. Let larvae grow, let mosquito be around. We don't care. But we suddenly care because we are afraid to be infected by this. So my principle or my advice as a doctor is use facts, do not use fear. Just like Pastor said. Yeah? Thank you.